everyone. Here comes the next, probably the second episode of the Morezan Ballet. The maestro and seasoned professional from Bali Legal will now tell us how to transfer capital out of Russia.
Yes, with the help of our Indonesian opportunities that are now opening up. But in general, many people are asking this question about transferring out of Russia, not necessarily with the aim to leave, but rather to find some quiet harbor where they can wait it out, because nothing is clear. First, second, in order to use this company as an intermediary, for example, to manage funds worldwide in the future. So, there are two main points that exist at the moment, and what was the scheme before? There used to be a scheme where you would travel to another country, open a card for yourself, and then top up this card using cryptocurrency. This scheme exists now as well, but I have noticed that the amount of money people want to transfer out of Russia is becoming immeasurably larger than before. In other words, amounts like $100,000 are no longer of interest. Now it is usually $1 million, $2, $3 million, and so on, up to those appealing figures.
People want not only to relax themselves, but also to empower their capital with freedom.
Absolutely right. In order for him to move along with them in some way, accordingly, I still believe that the company Van Danese is perfectly suited for this, because that infamous 0.5% tax that we keep talking about allows, in general, to transfer money with minimal losses through a regular SWIFT transfer, either as a service fee or for the purpose of purchasing real estate, for example, in Indonesia, considering that currency control is present here. But I wouldn't say it is absent, but...
Does this concern Russia, or does it also include Belarus, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan?
Yes, these are post-Soviet countries, Well, Kazakhstan is not included, but overall, yes.
So, with the SWIFT, you can do it like this.
You can transfer with SWIFT like this? Just shoot it over? Yes. So it all depends on the current situation. With Russian and Ukrainian banks, so if you found an option, I know that in Russia there are still a couple of banks through which you can send money here with SWIFT. So here, when the money arrives, you won't have any problems with currency control. That's it. They are already here, they are already on your company's balance sheet, and you can basically do a lot with them moving forward.
And in percentage terms, how often do people from Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia reach out? And what is the percentage from each of these countries?
Russia accounts for about 80% of the cases. Everything else is just minor. About 80% is Russia, yes. So, what happens to this money next? You probably know that in Indonesia the circulation of cryptocurrency is still not fully legalized. It still isn't. But at the same time there is, well, I call it a gray area. I don't know how else to put it. I wrote an article on this topic and it should be published soon. My friend said that it's essentially like trading illegal drugs, but under government control in a way. The gray zone refers to regulated cryptocurrency exchanges that are overseen by the government. There are very few of these in any countries currently. And the coolest thing is that you can connect these state-regulated crypto exchanges directly to your company.
So is it available in Indonesia?
This is available in Indonesia.
Well, it's not available anywhere else.
Wait.
Well, even in America, they are trying to put some obstacles in the way of sects. I occasionally read those news articles. There, roughly speaking, in Ukraine, for example, they still cannot come to a decision on how to tax them.
There. Well, I mean, yes, there is a clear tax system in place at the moment.
What's happening with crypto in Russia?
In Russia, the situation with crypto is a complete mess. A complete mess, that's all there is to it. Absolutely right, but therefore, Indonesia, in light of all this, seems to me, it is making very significant progress right now, Indonesia, against this backdrop. And the coolest thing about this is that with that money, your $1 million, after converting it to crypto, you can send it not just to the company's bank account, as you could do before, but you can send it to any crypto wallet of any person in the world. Accordingly, well, by backing this up with certain contracts, I don't know. What does this indicate? It indicates that by effectively owning a company in Indonesia, you can move your capital around the world without any problems, without any issues. Well, while paying the corresponding taxes there. I recently calculated for every $100K, your costs will be around 1.2, 1.3%. Do you understand? I mean, it's even funny. Well, from the perspective of any bank transfer, practically.
Yes. So, how safe is it to save money in Indonesia?
But look, do we have any risks? We always have currency risk, that is, the risk of devaluation of the national currency. Over the past 10 years, this currency corridor of 15 to 16,000 per dollar has continued to hold.
Wait a minute. Can't I transfer dollars here?
You will transfer dollars here. Just for example, if you want to buy cryptocurrency, you will still need to convert them into Indonesian rupiah first, because within the country, your transactions are conducted in Indonesian rupiah.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I buy dollars later and send them wherever I need?
You can actually do this even as an individual. Few people know that if you have an account in Permata Bank, you can connect it to a local currency exchange, Forex, which is regulated, and through it, you can independently carry out all the necessary operations for purchasing currency, and then go to this Permata and withdraw the currency in cash.
Without limit?
Yes, but you will still need to request the necessary amount. And, to be honest, I have never seen anyone withdraw $100,000, for example, not even once. But I am sure that if you request that amount, they will do it.
Hey, how much cash can I take out when leaving Indonesia?
10...
Yes, per person.
Yes.
As everywhere.
Yes.
So taxes. How much lower are the taxes here?
Well, considering the 0.5% tax that you will pay, let's say, under this scheme, you won't pay anything more. Well, apart from the smallest tax, I usually don't consider the tax on buying or selling cryptocurrency. I mean, it's really quite laughable. It's even a bit strange to consider it at all.
So, how much lower are the taxes here? We have already explained this, along with the control from the authorities. What do we have? What do we have regarding this control?
You know, there is control from the authorities, and more consultations when people come to me. I often conclude with the phrase that there is control here, but the corruption associated with this control is very soft. So, if in Russia you, as a person, how would you call positive corruption?
Corruption sounds negative, while the positive side is more like a favorable opportunity. It's possible, let's put it this way. It's possible. There are pleasant opportunities available.
Yes, they exist. That is, if you compare it to Russia, you have a society divided into certain layers, and corruption is aimed at keeping you within a specific layer. They will take you all the way, but they will still leave you on the first or second step there with your business, not here. If you have money, you can quickly start moving up this ladder, and you can reach, well, not to the president of Indonesia, but you can get to very high power structures, where, in principle, you will practically have an unlimited story related to Indonesia. That is, there is money, and with money, you can afford a lot. In Russia, it is completely different. All the money you have will be taken by the higher authorities that control you.
It makes sense.
Well, relatively.
Yes. So we have already moved on to soft corruption and so on. Now let's talk about the possibility of obtaining a residence permit when there is money.
Well, it's even strange to call it money. I mean, you just open a company, pay an additional $1,200, and receive a residence permit absolutely legally. If you're transferring money, especially if you have it, and you combine this story of transferring money around the world through a cryptocurrency exchange, for example, and you bring in $200,000-300,000. Consider that you won't even have any questions from the migration service about where your capital or your company's capital is, because it will effectively fulfill 30 to 40% of the investment plan. You just get a residence permit and simply, well, continue living for 2 years, then another 2 years, then another 2 years, and maybe even for 5 years.
And after that, almost.
After that, you can almost become a citizen of Indonesia. You can actually become a citizen of Indonesia.
Hey, how can I quickly become a citizen of Indonesia?
Legally. No, for money, yes.
Ha ha ha.
Moreover, different companies offer different deals. I have seen completely crazy offers, like becoming a citizen of Indonesia for just $120,000 within a year. I spoke with representatives of the authorities, who cannot be publicly identified on camera, and the prices there are completely different, as well as the time frame, which is about 2 to 3 years and around $20,000. Well, this is the closest story to Jakarta.
Understood.
So, well, something like that. To be honest, I don't see much desire among people to obtain Indonesian citizenship.
There is no point. There are no special privileges.
That's absolutely right. Perhaps only in rare cases is there persecution, or a desire for some reason to live specifically in Indonesia. I don't know. But here, marriage seems to happen much faster.
Tell me, please, so if you get married, God forbid, when do you perhaps become a citizen?
Oh, it's something like 2 or 3 years if I'm not mistaken, quite quickly. Yes.
So do you have any story?
What is the story related to? How Well,
I don't know. We need to somehow finish the second series. Maybe something shocking, or maybe something else. You usually like to tell horror stories. Do you have any good predictions, perhaps?
I see that Bali will soon indeed definitely become a surprisingly large financial center for the cleansing, whitening, and transfer of money from all over the world.
Oh dear, what about our neighbors? What about Thailand?
Our neighbors, including Thailand, are not suitable for this. You need to rely too much on intermediaries there to make it happen. To open a company, you need a local person who will always control 51% of your company. But here, this is not necessary. And here you can create a system in which you will control all financial flows as the owner of the business. Only you.
Malaysia.
In Malaysia, the minimum charter capital is $100,000, and there are nuances related. 2. Taxes, as the tax rate is simply higher there. Malaysia, Vietnam, a communist regime, serious bureaucracy, and the establishment of companies there. It is impossible to do it properly remotely, and it takes 3 to 4 months, again using locals.
Cambodia.
I can't tell you here. Cambodia seems to be opening up opportunities for investors right now, but still, Bali is a certain brand, and people come here just to hang out. When they see financial opportunities here, it's clear that they already have a certain point in their minds from where they were, and they tend to trust more.
Okay, let's go with Bali, Dubai.
Dubai has recently raised the tax rate from 0% to 9%. There are downsides to opening a company remotely. You cannot do it without flying in. More and more banks are not opening accounts for citizens of the Russian Federation. Again, it is necessary to use intermediaries. No one gives any guarantees in Dubai that you will open a bank account after establishing a company. Therefore, Indonesia currently has very few competitors.
What to do in Dubai? Can you explain it to me?
Don't understand what to do in Dubai. Don't understand.
Why are people buying some kind of shkaluki for $500,000 there, apparently apartments? What are they doing there?
Well, I can't speak for everyone. I think this is a continuation of the story, buy and revive a colorful income.
Okay, Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. Forget about Hong Kong for now. Forget about Singapore and China altogether. I mean, there are so many intermediaries, such costs, and such reluctance to work with Russians that you should just forget about it for now.
Okay, Japan.
I can't say much about Japan. I just think that the cost of living is much higher, that's all. Plus, it's a bureaucratic country, and you will be forced to turn into a square there. With our brain, which is more like a snake, Indonesia is still a closer fit.
Then, I guess we won't delve into Australia and New Zealand.
Australia and New Zealand are practically America in reality. Well, in terms of organizing many things, not just from the perspective of the standard of living. And when opening a company, the same applies. You will incur all the same expenses as when opening a company in America, including its maintenance. It is clear that what makes America, New Zealand, and Australia great is that they strongly, care at the state legislative level about protecting your right to private property. This is something that is not found in other countries, including Indonesia. This is certainly a plus, but for the initial movement of capital, Indonesia is ideal for storing money here. I think it will be a big wallet.
For a retiree, I understand, let's say, quite tired from the battles for love, it would be ideal to find an Australian woman, whisper something in her ear, and get married. Accordingly, one could obtain Australian citizenship in this regard.
Yes, but, if we're going to switch to intimate topics here, it seems to me that for a pensioner is much more interesting if choosing between an Australian girl and an Asian girl.
Look, yes, we are talking now, about Australia, like yes, then get citizenship and then return to Asia again. So, what am I getting at? When you reach a point like 50 plus and you've traveled everywhere, you start to want something more. Just a little bit of hay to put somewhere. If you have an Israeli passport, you can receive free medical treatment in various countries around the world, including in America, at these Israeli hospitals. Israel does not fly in here, does not enter. It is completely...
But for money, right?
Okay, again, a persona non grata, so to speak. In Indonesia, do they also not like Jews? In Australia?
No, there is nothing like that.
Israelis can fly to Australia, no questions asked, right?
Well, I don't have a visa agency, but as far as I know, there shouldn't be any restrictions. Correct me in the comments.
Okay. In any case, for some reason, the standard of living in Australia is one of the highest. What is this related to?
Phew, these are political and economic issues, right? I think this is related to the fact that Australia is an island, completely isolated, and they live a bit in their own world on this island. In other words, they spend money to create their own infrastructure. Accordingly, this money needs to be recouped. In order for this money to return to the state budget, a certain level of income is required for citizens so that they can pay taxes on it. That's basically it.
Australian citizenship is very well.
Yes, that is very good, of course.
How can I get it quickly?
As far as I know, it cannot be obtained quickly.
Well, only on some old Australian one with ketchup. And that's it.
You should visit Australia.
Well, you need to attract an Australian, a duh. And for that, you need to gather your strength. That's what Tinder is for. Good. Thank you for the advice, thank you for the consultation, and in general, thank you for the information that I hope people will appreciate it and like it, so that others can get information through YouTube promotion. But if someone subscribes, that would be great, because their karma, especially business karma, will be positively affected. Wishing you all the best. Stay healthy. Stay healthy. Created by Human Torso.